Coding is no longer just for developers, but AI tools won't do it all. It's best we get just enough understanding on how these AI tools work in order to improve the pace and quality of our own development. This video is going to cover the essentials from the AI-powered Sanity development course on Sanity Learn. If you'd like to walk through step-by-step instructions and cross off tasks as you complete them, and potentially see more up-to-date guidance than this video provides, go to sanity.io/learn and find the course there, and you can follow along step by step. Previously, if you had an idea for a content-driven application, you would have to know how to code and memorize which lines of code to write in order to get the results that you wanted. That's no longer the case. We can describe the use cases that we have in order to build the application that we want. This is a step up for new developers, but it's rocket boosters for experienced developers, as you'll be able to codify the way you like to write applications and essentially have them write themselves and still step in and get involved line by line where you need to. You've never needed AI to build Sanity-powered content applications, but with its all-code configuration, it's perfectly suited for AI-powered development. At the core of working with AI tooling is prompting, so let's figure out what makes a good prompt. Throughout the history of computing, if you gave a consistent input, you would get a consistent output because it would be computed. And that's no longer the case with AI tooling. We can write a prompt, feed it to many different models, and get a somewhat different response. That is part of the magic and part of the frustration of working with large language models. So it becomes critically important to know what it means to write a good prompt, to become a prompt engineer, and to get a predictably good response from whichever model we are talking to at the time. Here's a few tips on writing better prompts. First of all, fill in the gaps. Large language models know an awful lot, but they don't know everything, especially they don't know what you don't tell it. You probably already have some experience writing prompts into something like ChatGPT. Here's an example of a bad prompt. Write me a blog. It's given us a response immediately, and thankfully it's asking for more details, but this might not always be the case. Some models will take the questions that you give them and immediately start building out something, disregarding any extra context that might have been useful. Large language models know a lot, but they have gaps in their knowledge. They have some technical gaps, knowing the latest APIs, but they definitely have context gaps, knowing exactly what you want to build. And if you don't tell it, it won't know, and it may proceed without asking you for more information. That's why it's good practice to ask and not tell. At this stage of the project, you might not know everything that you want, but large language models do a great job of helping you brainstorm these ideas. So it may be best to have a time first where you are project planning what you are trying to build and not just go immediately into the building phase. And once you do start building, it's really important to set your expectations accordingly. AI is not human. It will talk like one, it will seem like one, and you'll be lured into wanting to believe that this is someone that you are working with. But it's not human, it's not computer, it's sort of a fuzzy black box that we're all coming to terms with. It will do things on your behalf, it will answer questions in a friendly manner, it will also lie to you very confidently in a way that if a human did that, it would immediately break your trust. So be very careful not to consider that this is a human entity or something that can always be trusted, but rather something that is very eager to answer every question, even if you're asking the wrong question or you haven't given it the context to give you the answer that you want. And lastly, keep it simple, stupid. That's true in the physical world. It's true in the digital as well. Keep your prompts reasonably short. Unless you are going to take the time to create an exhaustive project document, which you can then feed into the context, which you can always refer back to, work in short steps. Don't try and plan out the entire project in one prompt. Sit back and expect it to all happen for you. So with all of these rules in mind, let's get building. In this video, we're going to be using Cursor, an incredibly popular AI-powered code editor. There are others, such as Windsurf and Zed, which are very popular, and VS Code really popularized the idea of working with AI tools inside of a code editor, but in my opinion, it hasn't really kept pace with some of these newer tools. So Cursor seems like the most AI native of the code editors at the time of making this video, and that's what we'll be using today. You can download Cursor for free from their website. There is a paid plan, but you should be able to complete this video using the free plan. Once you've downloaded and installed Cursor, you'll see a screen like this, where we can open up the terminal in order to start a new Sanity project. I'm going to copy and paste this line here into the terminal, which is going to create a new Sanity project. I could have opened a chat window and started prompting a new Sanity project into existence, but I would prefer you start with the exact same code base that I do, and so this is what we're going to do. We can see that at the core of it, it's going to run npm create sanity at latest, but I have chosen a few extra flags there. It's going to choose the blog template schema. It's going to create a brand new project called AI-powered sanity with the dataset name production. It's going to choose TypeScript and put it into a folder called AI-powered sanity. I'm going to use pnpm to install my dependencies. And now from inside of the folder that I just created, I can type cursor dot, and it will open this directory inside of cursor. If that command did not work in your terminal, you can open up the command palette by pressing Command-Shift-P, type in shell install cursor command. And now we can see all of the project files of our new Sanity project. The Sanity config file is the main one that we can look at here, with a lot of the pre-configured options, such as our schema types for posts, authors, categories, and block content. If I press Command-T to open up the terminal and type npm run dev, I can now start the local development process. And then log in to my Sanity Studio using the same credentials I used earlier. So let's quickly understand what happened. We just created a new Sanity Studio project locally with code, which has a cloud-hosted data store called the Content Lake. When we create documents in Sanity Studio, they are instantly written to the Content Lake. We have live, real-time multiplayer editing inside of our content management system here that's all configured in code. It's time to start writing some prompts. I'm going to close my file browser and close my terminal there and open up our chat window. You can open up the chat window by pressing Command L in Ask mode or Command I in Agent mode. In Ask mode, you'll use fewer tokens, but you'll only be having a conversation with the AI. When it suggests code changes, you'll have to manually apply them one by one to file. In Agent mode, you may use a few more tokens, but it will take actions on your behalf, moving, writing to, and deleting project files. And if you want to introduce a little anarchy, go into cursor settings and turn on YOLO mode, and it won't wait for your confirmation to run commands in the terminal. Let's write our first prompt in Ask mode. Before we type anything, let's add some context. Here, I can say the entire codebase and say, look through this codebase and tell me what you know about the project. If we look through its response, we can see it has correctly determined that this is a Sanity Studio project with the blog content model. And it's correct, we're using the blog template. But imagine we want to now extend the Sanity Studio. Let's ask it first before we try and make any changes. So I've entered another prompt. This is a content management system for a blog. However, my business also includes store locations. How do you think we could represent them? So here we can see it's given me an example of a new content type schema for store locations. It's a document here and it's already written in all of these fields. And all of this is correctly written the way that Sanity Studio schema should be written. And it's using the existing files in the template to write new files of that type. There is one issue, though. I don't really like how it's called them store locations, where locations is a bit more generic and preferable. So we can continue this conversation and tell the model that's what we would prefer. I think we should just call them locations, not store locations, in case we want to reuse the type. And it may have told you that geopoints require a plugin. I'm seeing that a lot in my responses here. That's not true. Google Maps requires a plugin, but geopoints don't. It's not in this response, but it has been in others in the past. So let's send this next prompt here. I think we should just call them locations. So here's now updated schema, which is terrific. That's exactly what I wanted. And once this response finishes, we can then go and apply this to the project. So I can apply these individually, or I can say apply all. So here we go. The location file is now being written to my studio. And actually, let's just click the apply all button and accept these files. So here we now see that this is the schema index file where all our schema types are loaded. If we go back to our Sanity Studio here, we can now see location files. I could create a new location document here. And it has the name, slug, and address and everything. And here's my location document schema where I could change name to title if I wanted to or something like that. And all my field configuration is stored. So this is sort of the inflection point in AI-powered development, is that previously a developer would have to write this, but now I've just chatted it into existence. So chatting works, but let's try an agent so it can just go and make changes without us having to click apply. I'm going to switch over to agent mode here. And without any context yet, I'm going to enter in a new prompt, which is this project contains an author document type. And let's open up that author file just to double check. Here's my author document type. This came with the Sanity Studio. However, it's too specific for our use case. I want to make it more generic to represent a person, because perhaps not all people are actually blog post authors in the future of my project. Let's send this to the agent now, and we'll see that it will go and make changes for us. And what's excellent about this step is that it is going to make those changes not just to this author file, but it will go and update references in other files that may be very easy to miss if we were just responsible for this alone. And so what's really powerful about this is it's going to work through the code base to find every reference to a person, such as in the post document type, there's a reference to an author that will get changed to a person. And that's not code configuration, it's just a string in that schema configuration file, but the agent will take care of all of that for us. So I can close these files now, and I'm confident that yes, person records now exist instead of authors. And if I could go and create a post, and a post now will be a reference, even though the field name is author, it will be a reference to a person type document. This is powerful and fast because we don't have data yet. If this was a production studio with content already in it, we would need to write a schema migration or have AI write a schema migration for us in order to change existing author documents to person type documents. So far, you've seen me just copy and paste prompts into these chat windows, and that's largely because I really get tired of having to type out prompts. It can feel quite laborious. I can type 100 words a minute, and I can't stand writing prompts for whatever reason. It feels like micromanagement. But something that has really unlocked prompting for me is doing that with my voice. Your OS probably already has dictation, but now there are AI-powered dictation tools, which I find really useful in order to prompt faster than ever before. My favorite AI-powered dictation app is Super Whisper. It's free to try. There is a paid version, and there are alternatives out there. It's just the one that I'm going to use in this course. Once you have Super Whisper installed, you can write your prompt something like this. The title of this project is AI powered, but it's just a blog for my local bakery. Can you update any references to AI in this project to my bakery? And we can see how much quicker that was to perform. This is great. These are the two files that I want to change, just the Sanity configuration title and the package JSON name. When these AI tools write code, they're typically going to do the most generic and average response, or rely on the existing code in the project to write code that looks very similar. This makes it difficult to apply best practices that are very opinionated unless we guide the AI about how we like to write code. Thankfully, I have some very strong opinions on these, and I've now been able to codify these into what we call cursor rules. For quite some time, I've been maintaining this guide called an opinionated guide to Sanity Studio, and previously, you would have to keep these things in mind if you wanted to build Sanity Studios the way that I do. And you can find a distillation of those opinions in this AI rules repository on GitHub. If we open up this opinionated rules file and copy the contents of it, we can go into cursor and say new cursor rule. We can call this Sanity Opinionated and paste in the contents. This cursor rules file lives in a hidden folder in .cursor rules sanityopinionated.mdc. It's important to check back on that repository as we'll be keeping those rules up to date over time as I find new ways to codify the best ways to configure a Sanity project. Now let's apply these rules. I'm going to close the file browser here, open up my agent once again, start a new chat. Using the Sanity opinionated rules, refactor the schema type files imported into index.ts. We can see that it is now reading over all of the schema type files to apply the best practice rules from the opinionated guide, which includes things like importing icons for document types. The opinionated guide includes adding an icon for every document type. We'll see here that the agent will understand that there is an error because the Sanity icons package is not installed, and it should go ahead and install it for us. Unfortunately, it's fallen at the last hurdle because it doesn't understand how to install the icons package. Let's go and open up the terminal here, grab a new terminal window. I'm just going to say pm install Sanity icons. It's also unfortunately fallen over here. There's no location icon. So it's made up an icon that doesn't exist. Let's use pin icon because I know that one exists. So we can see here, there's one hallucination. So location icon, yeah, that's still not right. I'll use a pin icon there. Okay, so it's used location icon in a number of places, which it shouldn't have. It looks like also the block content has included the code block now, which is a great block to have if you were writing code, but I don't think our bakery is going to write code. So we could change this line ourselves, or I can say, we don't need a code type in our block content. And we can even reference that file so it knows exactly what we're talking about. I could have also told the agent that there's no location icon. And there we go. We can see now every document type has an icon, and every new document here has groups, which is part of the opinionated guide as well. We can see there are required fields with validation rules, and each validation rule has a customized error message. In the same way we're using rules to guide the way code is written, we can also reference external documentation to tell it things that it doesn't actually know. One good example is configuring the structure builder, which is a part of the Sanity Studio configuration that has long been called the desk tool. So when you ask it to customize the structure builder, it will probably import things from Sanity Desk, which hasn't been relevant since May 2024. Fortunately, I can send it along to the documentation to get some better, more up-to-date examples, such as those found in the structure builder cheat sheet. So now I can write a prompt. Please update the structure tool configuration in Sanity config and use examples from the structure builder cheat sheet to update the document type names from singular to plural. Now I can replace some of these words with that URL. If we just paste in the URL there, it will be referenced. And we can also reference the Sanity config file. Unfortunately, we've lost our icon, so we can tell it about that. Please make sure every document type has its icon. Much better. Now our document types have posts, people, categories, and location. It's been so fast creating all of this configuration with code, but we can also use the AI tools to write content. Let's do that now. When you export a Sanity project's dataset, the format is an ND.json file. That's where every document is represented as a single line of JSON in a big document full of them. Let's generate one of those documents with AI and then import it into our Sanity Studio. Let's open a new chat in agent mode. I need to create some placeholder content to be able to validate my content model. Looking at all the content types in the schema types directory, create an ND.json file and import it into the production dataset. When running the import, overwrite the existing document IDs, use the guidance from the opinionated rules. I can enter my prompt. Now update some of these references. It's the opinionated rules. It's the schema types directory. And this is an actually ND.json file, which is a format that it should understand. We can see the model is now creating our placeholder content.nd.json file and should give us a command to import it. I'm automatically importing this document here, and it's now uploading these assets as well. So this is great. It's created 3 posts, all with images. I can click into them here. It has tripped up on the way references are stored. So I think it's called it a reference instead of an author and a reference instead of a category. Ensure you are using the right type names for author and category references. And there we have it. It's corrected itself. I can go back and have a look at that post list. I could jump into people. I could have given the prompt even more context to say this placeholder content should represent a bakery or create 10 posts, create 20 people. Really, that's up to you. But we can see here that our dummy data now works. This makes it much easier to go and test out the front end of our choice to render this content. We're now going to have AI build a front end for our Sanity content. And this is the exciting part. For every tutorial I've ever written or recorded on video, I've always given the exact steps that needed to be taken in order for you to complete them and you get the same result that I do. But in this particular video, I really encourage you to do something different to what I'm about to do. The framework I'm choosing is one I don't know very well because I want to really emphasize the fact that now you can do anything that you like. But if you would like to use a different framework, go for it. Our project currently has Sanity Studio configuration files at the root. And what we're about to do is go and make a very big and possibly dangerous change to the studio. I want to arrange all of these folders into a directory called Studio. And at this point, we're potentially making irrevocable changes to the project. The agent will go and make these changes for us, but it also might make an enormous mess. This is why it's good, if you are familiar with Git, to go and make a commit right now. Now let's close the terminal and the file browser and bring back our agent in a new chat. This project currently has a Sanity Studio in the root, but I would also like to add a front end later. Move all of the project files to their own folder called Studio, add a new README to the root, add a package.json and git ignore to the root. Do not write any front-end code. I'm going to make one adjustment to my voice prompt here to just make that a lowercase s, super whisper, capitalize that. But if I let that go, it would use that uppercase name. That prompt took a little trial and error to come up with. Sometimes it would duplicate code. Sometimes it would just start building a Next.js front end without being asked. So you may learn a lot by writing prompts, and that's why it's important to have a state that you can revert back to at any time. So before we accept any of these changes, let's have a good hard look at what has been done. Here's our new README file here. There's my studio directory. It has thankfully moved node modules into that, which doesn't always happen with this prompt, but our Sanity Studio there continues on. So I'm going to accept these changes, and for the sake of moving some things around, let's close our chat window. Let's close all those files, bring back our terminal, go back to our development process that was running before, and go into the studio and go npm run dev again. We should still be able to run our studio. And there's our blog once again with all of our documents still in it. The content is separated from our code, so that should always be there. Now it's time to build the front end of our choice. I'm going to close the terminal there and open up a new agent chat and say something like, create a new blank Astro website using the web folder of this project. And this is an instance where if I wanted a best practice starter, like we did with Sanity Studio, I could have gone and found a command to run from the terminal. But in this case, I'm going to trust the AI to go and get the best bare bones Astro template it can. And we can see it's now giving us instructions to go into the web directory and go npm run dev. I can run that here. And now let's open up our web front end at localhost 4321. And there's my Astro site. Let's close the terminal and ask it for a few more details before we get our Sanity content into the Astro project. Without writing any code, tell me how well you understand importing content from Sanity into an Astro frontend. And this is how we can clarify what the AI knows about this connection between two technologies. And again, we might want to reference some documentation. We might want to reference a template if it's not really getting it very clearly. But the answer seems about as good as possible. It's going to use Sanity Client and it's going to use Grok to write queries. And now, for the sake of time, let's go and get some Sanity content and put it into our Astro site with a big prompt. Excellent. In that case, I'd like you to look at the Sanity config file to find project details about my Sanity Studio, the schema types, understand the document types that we have available, the opinionated rules on how to write Grok queries, then update the Astro frontend to query for just the latest blog posts. Render them on the home page as a simple list. Do not create individual route first blog posts. We want first to confirm that this small task works before taking any further action. So this is a bigger prompt, but we're keeping it simple for now because I just want to confirm that it can make one fetch before I confirm that it can go and do the rest. There's every chance that if I said build out the entire blog, it would do that for me, but I would rather take small steps that I can revert now than risk blowing up the whole project immediately. So let's put some steps in here just for our own readability. The Sanity config file is Sanity config. Let's get the index file from inside of the schema types. And also the opinionated rules. Then perform the rest. We can see here that it's gotten our project details from the Sanity configuration file. It understands what document types are available. It understands how to write Grok queries and the packages that will be required in order to make document fetches and render images. We can see it's creating a Sanity client configuration. It's now just fixing some TypeScript types, which unfortunately it hasn't used Sanity type gen. That's in the rules, but we'll let it slide for now. It seemed to be trying to run the dev server from the root directory, which wasn't correct. And I'm not sure why it did because it's already running. And we can see here that our homepage has been updated. It's removed any of the CSS that it had before. And we really should go and install Tailwind. We could ask it to do that. But we have our Sanity content fetched on an Astro front end. And I don't know how to use Astro, but that has worked. And hopefully you've chosen something else and you're seeing it work as well. From this point forward, it's up to you and your AI to build out the rest of this front end or the Sanity-powered content application of your dreams. I hope this course has been useful. If there's anything been left out, please reply in the comments below or send us some feedback on Sanity Learn, and we'll see you in the next one.